Good morning. This is Eve back at Worthy Ready, the radical self image makeover for women ready to create a life they love. Well, for subscribers, thank you for continuing to listen in, to watch me. To new people, welcome. This is a channel that channels your courage to heal from all sorts of abuse, narcissistic abuse, toxic relationships, dysfunction, whatever ails us, whatever has taken us farther away from the self. This channel is about bonding with the self and creating a relationship with yourself that you love. This is about becoming your sacred admirer and ends the sacrifice of the self for others. This is all about creating a whole different experience in life, recognizing that the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself. Not only because it's the only way you'll experience true peace, joy, know yourself deeply, and find your purpose, but also because the way you treat yourself will be reflected back by others, and the way you treat yourself, you will treat others. I call it the platinum rule. And this rule, if you take it on with your willingness, curiosity, and fascination, you will manifest things beyond your wildest dreams. So let me share with you ways and tips and practices to do this so that when you change the relationship with yourself, you will create that life you love. And that is the radical self image makeover. It's coming with new eyes, a new lens to see yourself in a whole new, different, amazing, bright way. Becoming your sacred admirer, the idol of yourself, and recognizing that you are amazing, you matter, and you are the most important person in your life. We're going to end sacrifice right here. For you women that have chanted, I'm done, over and over through the years, only to find yourself back in the same situation, different guy, different face, different hobbies, but the same toxic relationship. So this is about healing, whether it's from narcissistic abuse. And I can tell you, people who don't know what narcissistic abuse is or wonder what it is, it's a very crazy making behavior that consists of verbal abuse, gaslighting, all sorts of ways to have you doubt yourself, lose trust in yourself, make you feel crazy. It's with a person that never takes accountability. I am not the narcissistic expert to share this information with you, but what I will do is in the comments, I'm going to put a couple of people that I follow that saved my nervous system and myself from going insane because I couldn't understand what was going on in these relationships and came away back leaving my last relationship in 2013 and never dating again. Now, I've created a great life for myself and I'm truly happy, but I hate to see this happen to other people that don't know much about this behavior and stay in it as long as I did, because it does do a number on you and it will leave you reeling. I will put links below for people that don't know what this is. So if you're wondering, have I ever been with a narcissist? Am I with a narcissist now? This is important. The most important thing is education and self-awareness. So let's move on. Those are left to those experts. I'm an expert on healing and creating a relationship that's bonded with yourself. I've done that very successfully, and I'm here to support you there too. All right, so for women that have said, I'm done over and over again, finding yourselves in the same relationships with other people, scratching your head why you can't say no, why people aren't reciprocating with you, why you don't feel appreciated, and why you're up to here with doing things you don't want to do anymore. So let me start with a quote. Remember from one of my books, My Dearest Self, I Forgive You. That's a great mantra to use. Whenever you want to forgive yourself for something, you could just say in that moment, put your hand on your heart, my dearest self, I forgive you. And watch how your heart opens up to you, how you soften to yourself. Because let me tell you something, you're never, and I'm going to use that absolute, you're never going to create a life you love. You aren't going to feel bonded to yourself. You aren't going to strengthen the relationship with yourself without self forgiveness. Now, I'm a 67-year-old woman. I know some of you that watch this channel are older, some of you may be younger. It doesn't matter. As long as you're over the age of probably 15, and I'm not suggesting people that young even watch this, I don't even think they'd resonate. Excuse me, this is for women who have lived long enough to know what isn't working. Without self forgiveness, you are not going to give yourself an opportunity to create the life you love. So I'm going to start. So remember, this is a great mantra. My dearest self, I forgive you. Excuse me. I need to take a sip of water. Thank you for bearing with me. I don't have any editing software. This isn't live, but it is for me. So there are no takes here. So here we are. Let's get to the business we want to discuss about self forgiveness and how to start opening up your heart to receive yourself so that you can see yourself differently. Now, I asked last time on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being just absolutely can't stand yourself, 10 being you're over the top in love with yourself, which in case, you probably don't even need to really watch on because you're doing so well. I applaud you. But for those of you that know that the relationship with yourself can use improvement, this is a great place to be and you're in the right place. Let me start with a quote and a step to take from My Dearest Self, I Forgive You, the essential steps to embracing your journey and loving your life. This is about your journey, which is unique, and loving your life. Okay, so the step we're going to take together today. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this book. I have some great information about what self-forgiveness is about, why it's important. I shared a little bit of that with you just a moment ago. But there are steps to take in this book. This is a proactive book designed to sit on your coffee table, your nightstand, to refer to often. So it's available on Amazon. It's Kindle ready, ebook ready. Barnes and Noble could order it for you. I love the hardcover because, like I said, I designed it for a coffee table, and I do pick this up a lot. It sits on actually my nightstand. Now, there's unbelievable, loving, compassionate statements in this book. In order to embark on self forgiveness, we need to lighten our hearts, warm up our hearts to ourselves. I promise you, most of us are our own worst enemy. As much as we blame others for what they've done or the offenses brought upon us, the transgressions that we've experienced from them, the forgiveness that we've absolutely overloaded ourselves with, bullied ourselves about to forgive other people, in the hopes that someday we could make amends and we would be forgiven by them. What a mess. I'm telling you right now, you cannot depend on that. You have full control over self-forgiveness. And personally, I think most people throw the phrase, I forgive you, around as readily as they say, I love you, without any meaning whatsoever. It is as cliche as hello, how's your day, how you doing. People will walk by. I mean, there was a guy, I used to walk on my street, and there was a guy riding his bicycle, riding along really fast, and he passed me and he'd be like, how are you? Okay, We go out in the world, we put on our masks, we come with the intention to be nice and kind. Yes, we want to do that. We want to be respectful. But I'm talking about a deep conversation today about self-forgiveness. I'm going to leave forgiveness with others aside. Maybe I'll talk about that next week because that's a loaded conversation. I want to stick with self-forgiveness right now because it is a very, very important step. Remember, we talked about self-awareness. Awareness is number one. If you are unaware that you don't like yourself, if you are unaware that the relationship with yourself is not a good one, if you are unaware that you're co-creating relationships with people and that they're reflecting back to you the dysfunctional relationship you have with yourself, if you're unaware, well, there's nowhere to go from there. We need to become aware. Bring your awareness. Remember, I asked you some questions. When you think about what you've done for love, think about your life. When you think about what you've done for love, what are you angry about? What are you sad about? And who do you blame? Get some answers, because when you come here and you watch my channel, I want to leave you with tools and tips to support you in healing this. I'm not just here to blow hot air. I truly want to support you. I want you to experience the joy and the peace that I experience. It's wonderful. It doesn't take a lot. Your willingness, your curiosity, fascination. Forget about I'm done. That's the cry of the past. This is worthy ready. I'm worthy ready. We're women warriors, and we're going to step across that line now, and we're going to move forward, creating a relationship with ourselves that we love. No more disrespect. No more disrespect from other people. And I want to support you in how to do that effectively. So let's go to our first step here that we're going to talk about today. And self-forgiveness isn't about wiping the slate clean. Even though I can tell you, as a woman that practices self-forgiveness daily, it will feel as if you have a whole new lease in life. It doesn't wipe any slate clean. Listen, I'm a woman that thinks that letting go of the past is like taking everything you've learned and throwing it in the trash. You don't want to do that. You want to use your past for information that you already know, like the stove is hot. I needn't touch it. You know, it's interesting. I have 2 dogs and I love them dearly and I watch them. All it takes is one time for them. They don't need to learn a lesson over and over and over again. One time, they know. One time my dog was lying on the floor and I didn't see her and accidentally my foot kind of went over the top of her. Well, let me tell you something. Every time I move now, she'll move a little bit. She remembers. She protects herself. Same thing. No need to let go of our past. So self-forgiveness isn't about wiping the slate clean. It's about making sense of the mess and loving yourself despite it. Let me say that again. Self-forgiveness isn't about wiping the slate clean. It's about making sense of the mess and loving yourself despite it. That's what self-forgiveness is all about. So in this book, there's a formula. So the step forward on, as I said, this is a proactive book. The step to take forward on what I just read to you about self-forgiveness isn't about wiping the slate clean. Instead, it is about making sense of the mess and loving yourself despite it. The step to take on your behalf on this loving statement is to examine a negative experience in your life that you are still holding on to. Use the self-resentment formula on the previous page to examine the situation and find good in it. So I'm going to share with you the formula, and then I'm going to give you an example of the formula, which is an example of my life. And then as you go forward this week, to take this formula and to apply it to an experience in your life that you would like some healing around. Again, I said in previous episodes, we live in a story. We're living in a story that started very, very early in life by the way people treated us, what we learned about who we are, what people told us. Maybe someone said, hey, you're such a pretty girl, or wow, you're smart. And those are things that maybe lit us up. But then there were other things. You're a bad girl. Who would want a daughter like you? Whatever it is, we know what negativity sounds like. We know what positivity sounds like. But when we're very young and underdeveloped, we take in these statements, these, let's just say, definitions that people give us, the way they define us, and they become ingrained in how we see ourselves. So if we're bullied, if we have caretakers we didn't bond with, if we're out in nursery school and we have an experience that never left us, these things live on in us. They create a story about what we believe about ourselves, what we believe about other people, how we experience the world. It has a lot to do with our fear level, our trust level, and believe me, we're all wounded. So let's go to the formula. I'm going to share the formula with you, and then I'm going to give you an example of using this formula in an experience in my life. So here's the formula. Past ingenuity is the first part. Now, what I mean by past ingenuity is, well, you are brilliant. When you have your eye on something and you want it badly enough, you will be a genius in the way you manipulate getting it. Now, I think most of us know what I mean by that. Now, it doesn't mean what we want is necessarily going to serve us. But say it's we're younger in the world, we see this guy and we want to date him, and well, we will go about whatever we do to make that happen. Now we'll use our brilliance, maybe we'll, start finding out some information about him, whatever it is. We'll go and we'll find different ways how to meet him. Where does he hang out? What can we do to get to know him? Who are his friends? We'll start, put it this way, our wheels will start turning. And we are pretty brilliant when we have our eye on something we want. It may be a job that we're after. It may be some material thing that we've wanted. But let me tell you something. When our desire is there and we want something, we can become truly brilliant in getting it. So that's past ingenuity. I refer to past ingenuity because we're going to examine an experience in the past. So when we examine that experience, I want you to look at your brilliance around that experience in co-creating how that happened. So it's past ingenuity plus wisdom earned. The wisdom earned is what did you learn from that experience, plus feel-good strategies, which will refer to what we did in order to make ourselves feel better or talk ourselves into feeling a certain way so that we continue on a certain path. Perhaps we've created a fantasy, perhaps we're in love at this point, and we don't want to destroy the outcome we have our eye on. So we put in coping skills, what I call feel-good strategies, to support us in doing that, plus trial and error, which refers to, well, how do you know anything unless you try it? So that's trial and error, and it equals letting go. Okay, so I did say a few moments ago, about letting go. We don't want to let go of the past, but we do want to let go of a negative, disempowering interpretation of an experience that weighs us down, that keeps us stuck, and that doesn't allow us to move forward. Once again, here's the formula: past ingenuity plus wisdom earned plus feel good strategies plus trial and error equals letting go. Here's the example. I trust that when I share this example, it will make more sense. Okay, here we go. So, past ingenuity, once again, regarding the resentment you want to process and heal, go back in time to find the ways you used creative genius in getting what you needed at the time. If you start getting excited about how you manipulated things to serve you, even if it wasn't in your best interest, but instead what you were most committed to at the time, you will discover how powerful you are. Keep in mind that most often we lean toward choices that keep us safe or provide instant gratification. There's your past ingenuity. Wisdom earned. Regarding this resentment, look for the lessons that it delivered. We didn't realize the stove was hot until we touched it. What do you now know, and how can it support you in the future? Feel good strategies. What do you reach out for to feel better? Consider that even for the times when we engage in things that are not good for us, the intention is to likely feel better. Does someone who wants to feel better deserve a beating? Maybe a compassionate, heartfelt bonding with oneself would bode better. We tend to lean toward that which makes us feel better rather than facing the music and feeling the pain. Many of our choices are evidence of this. Trial and error. How are we supposed to know something until we give it a try? If it doesn't work out in our favor, isn't that good information to know? Don't you want to know before you invest lots of time, money, and heart? Reconsider the way you think about failing or losing. If you are willing, you will discover that the process of elimination is the best way to discover who you are and what you want. Next, right? Move on to the next thing. Okay, so trial and error was that last part. Okay, so again, the formula: past ingenuity plus wisdom earned plus feel good strategies plus trial and error equals letting go. Here's my example. Here's my self resentment. I am angry at myself for marrying that guy. I wasted the prime years of my life, never had the children I wanted, and screwed myself in the divorce settlement. Okay, that's the resentment. You're going to pick an experience that you resent. Okay, so that's mine. Here's my past ingenuity. At the time I agreed to move forward with this marriage, I stepped over a lot of things that didn't feel right, but I also believed I was getting a lot out of it too. In fact, I worked diligently to get this guy to marry me and even left him at one point, giving him an ultimatum. I did whatever I could at the time to imagine a great outcome and saw a very lavish life ahead. For a good while, I was super excited he even wanted to marry me, and our families were cheering for us. There were some really good times too. I was very insecure back then, unbeknownst to me, and believed I couldn't take care of myself. Even so, I honed an "I've got it all together" persona. It helped to convince even me that I would make things okay. It takes brilliance, ingenuity, and skill to carry out our fantasies. Boy, okay, I had my eye on this guy. Great family, loved him, definitely loved him at the time. Saw a lot of red flags. You had a lot of questions, but I was super insecure and I thought I was stepping in, poop in a good way. Okay. Great family, great guy at the time. All right. Um, I made it happen. Okay. Brilliant. Truly brilliant. Okay. Wisdom earned. Even though the marriage wasn't a good one and led to divorce, I learned so much about what I didn't want in a relationship and gained some confidence in myself. Now, I refer to my first marriage here, and I can tell you that it did take some time, but I did learn when I left that marriage, as devastating as that was 11 years later for me, because I never thought I would get divorced and I didn't have the children that I wanted. So for me, that was devastating. But I did learn a lot about myself and about what I didn't want. And there's some wisdom that is there for me. I also was very proud that I left. It was a very abusive relationship, and I was very proud of myself that I left. So there's my wisdom earned. Okay, feel good strategies. While I was concerned about marrying him, I wanted to be married. I wanted to start my life in my home with someone I loved and have a family. I went ahead with the marriage because I thought it would make me happy. When it didn't work out and I grieved for the end of my marriage, I ate a lot, drank too much, started therapy, didn't date for a long time. I was in a lot of pain and did some things I wasn't proud of. All my actions seemed likely for someone who had dreams that fell apart. Back then, I believed they were my dreams. When we don't know ourselves well, we guess a lot. I became depressed. So, those were my feel good strategies. I started therapy. I was drinking even though it didn't serve me. It helped me cope. Um all the things that we do to help ourselves get through something or feel better. I know that isn't the self care that we all strive for, but I can tell you, believe it or not, that is self care at the time. It is helping us go through something that's so painful that, especially if you're a sensitive person and you feel things intently, very hard to get through. Remember, we're living in a story. Experiences like this intensify our story. So if we feel insecure, then we're not good enough, and we go through a divorce, this could bring up a lot of that old, embedded, ingrained limiting beliefs. And believe me, if you don't think they drive your life, think again. Let's go over the last part, trial and error. If I hadn't married him, I would have always wondered. I'm sure I would have beat myself up if I'd let him get away. I couldn't have known the outcome even with the red flags I ignored. I was young and naive at the time. I gave it a shot. Is that a good reason to keep beating myself up? No. Here's the conclusion. Using this formula to examine resentments brings clarity and makes it more attractive to let resentments go because it examines the experience to find the good things that came out of the pain and heartache. Making sense of things heightens our willingness to keep exploring and helps to bring compassion to the self. It facilitates moving on. It is the win in the loss. So there you have it. Go forth this week and find an experience in your life where you had a lot of resentment and look for what you got out of it. What did it teach you? What did you learn about yourself? And use that formula. Okay. So once again, I'll put it in the comments. I'll put the formula in the comments for those of you that are worried about remembering the formula. For those of you that have My Dearest Self, I Forgive You, it's in the book. You know it. You've got it. For those of you, it's a great book. It has everything I will be talking about as we go forth. Listen, um, whatever I wrote, it sounds better than whatever I'm going to speak. So I'm going to be referring to my books a lot. Okay, so go forth, pick an experience, do the formula around it. I'll put it in the comments. and come back next week. And don't forget, those of you if you haven't subscribed, I'd love you to subscribe. If you like this episode, for all subscribers and those of you that haven't yet subscribed, press the like button. YouTube wants to know that this content is valuable, and certainly so do I. All right, you worthy, ready, beautiful warrior women out there, go forth this week, be worthy, ready, and I'll see you again next week.